Hey guys, welcome to Daniel Gian Talk, and today I'm going to be reviewing Zero, starring the one and only Shah Rukh Khan, Anushka Sharma, and Katrina Kaif. I just want to start off by saying that I enjoyed myself with this movie a lot.
I like it a lot.
Despite the pitfalls of the film, overall, I walked away being entertained. When I woke up this morning, I read all the hate comments I was getting last night for my KGF review, which you can check out here if you're interested. But I also woke up to people letting me know that Zero wasn't being received 100% the best. Critics seemed to love it, but the actual general audience didn't seem to care for it, so it's kind of mixed. So I was going into it with that in mind, but at the same time, this is the first time I was going to see Shah Rukh Khan on the big screen, so I was definitely excited for that. I can't lie. I wanted to see it. I've seen Salman Khan on screen, I've seen Amir Khan on screen, and now it's time for the other Khan to complete the Khan trilogy, and he didn't disappoint. I mean, he's definitely one of the big factors as to why this film succeeds. The other is Anushka Sharma's performance, as well as the character development and plants and payoffs. But let's start off with Shah Rukh's character. He was an asshole for the first fucking half of the film, almost to the point where I was getting turned off by him, where I was like, oh, maybe this is too much. Maybe you're going a little too far there. But it ended up all working out. I mean, that was all a part of his character development. That's why sometimes you got to just go along with the journey and see how the story ends up. If it pays off at the end, then all of this negativity that I felt was worth it. And it was. It starts off with this Western scene, which is cool. Shah Rukh's playing this fucking Western guy. It was like way over the top. I was rolling my eyes. I was like, oh no, this is ridiculous. And then it's a dream. And he wakes up from this dream, and his friends are downstairs yelling at him to like give him some money and stuff, because you find out that he still lives at home with his family, which is not a problem, but he's living off their money. So he doesn't have a job. He's loaded. He has money. That's the whole purpose. And you know, it's interesting. There's an interesting family dynamic going on where the father kind of doesn't like him, but they obviously do care for each other because they're family, but at the same time not really. Probably because he's a dwarf. That's what I assumed, which doesn't really get touched on a lot, but I just enjoyed the chemistry of Shah Rukh with everyone else. Everyone seemed to play off him very well, and there's little playful moments too where he's getting dressed to watch Katrina Kaif in the theater playing as she's playing a role as Babita. He's dressed in his suit, and I got to wear the bowler hat from Doom 3, and there's all these little jokes in there, and that was funny too. And they go into the theater and everyone's dancing. It was just full of energy, and I enjoyed that. But what I enjoyed about that though was that was the only song in the film that was a traditional Indian theatrical song, in my opinion. And the ironic thing was it was playing inside of a movie. But all of the music in this film worked because it never once took you out of the narrative. Everything was motivated by a story. I mean, when you have Shah Rukh, he's so rich that he pays for all these people to like play the symphony and do all the Holly, like that Holly song. Like that was also cool. The song later on when he's flirting with Anushka and he sings that old song. He's like talking to the DJ like, "Hey, play this song, whatever." And they're like, "We don't have that song." And they finally settle on this older tune, which was in the teaser. Like that worked too because that song was playing in the real world. It wasn't just like all of a sudden everyone just started breaking into song and dance. And I enjoyed that. That was also really entertaining. The motivation for the songs were all motivated by the story, and I really appreciated that because one of my biggest complaints for music is then it doesn't matter where the film comes from, whether it's an American musical, an Indian musical, whatever. For the most part, the songs just take me out of the narrative because I'm so involved, and then the song happens, and I'm like, ah, I was involved. I mean, and then the Salman Khan special guest appearance too, like during the dance competition, which was Salman Khan's best performance, by the way. I mean, no one plays Salman Khan better than Salman Khan. I mean, every single time I've seen Salman Khan in a film, he's playing himself. So, like, the idea that he's actually playing himself in this movie fit right in. Hands down, his best performance. I enjoyed that scene with Salman and Shah Rukh because 2 years ago, A, I wouldn't have watched this movie, and B, even if I did come across this movie, I wouldn't have understood the significance of those two legends sharing the screen. And so, like, the fact that I was able to see them together was cool, even though it was just a dance and there really wasn't much to it. It was still exciting. It was still fun. It still made me, like, get a little happy, when watching it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's also another angle I liked where Shah Rukh's kind of, like I said before, he's this asshole. He's doing this online dating thing, and he's looking for his wife, but really he's not looking for his wife. He's just looking for girls to just take to Pound Town and just have sex with. And so, finally Shah Rukh's telling his friend about this girl that he met, and it ends up being Anushka, and he explains how he went to like this school to meet her, and then he basically found out that she had cerebral palsy, and he tried to get away. And in that scene, like, that was a rough scene too, because he was just belittling her and talking shit. And the next time he sees her, he makes her pick up a pen. Like, that's where I was like, oh, this movie might not be good, because I was genuinely, like I said before, I was genuinely finding what Shah Rukh was doing to be distasteful. Not as an actor, but the character. Where I was like, this doesn't feel right. I feel bad. I feel bad. It all came out well, I think, because at the end of the day, you're able to spend enough quality, quiet moments with Anushka Sharma that you start to believe that they do have a chemistry together. Shah Rukh is constantly trying to impress her, which is also important too, because this is laying the foundation of the relationship, where he realized he fucked up when she picked up that pen. He had something happen in his brain where he realized, oh, I fucked up. Like, there's something else here, and he kept pursuing that, and that pursuit is what helped you get excited for the relationship, plus the song, plus so that dynamic really gets solidified. And there's little jokes there, where during the retelling of the story, the friend's like, "Oh, did you guys have sex?" And he's like, "No, of course not. We had a song." And that's when it breaks into the Holly song, and you get to you get to see all that theatrical experience, and then it cuts away from that, and he's like, "Did you have another song?" And he's like, "No, we had sex." But just all these little moments just added up, and they were calm moments. They were moments that took its time. It allowed the film to breathe. It allowed you to understand motivations of the characters, of both characters, because normally it's usually the male gets the most development, but I feel like it was both sides on this. Now, I'm not saying that Anushka Sharma's character was the most fleshed out, because I've definitely seen other films where the female counterpart definitely has more to grow from, but she was at least allowed the screen time and to develop as a character, and I appreciated that, because I didn't like her performance at first. I thought it was distracting, but by the end of the movie, I was completely blown away by it, and it caught my attention, and I think what didn't sit well with me at first is the fact that Shah Rukh's already a dwarf in the film, and then you have someone with cerebral palsy, and then it was like, really, them together, is that too much? And the film addresses that. The film addressed that numerous times, as a matter of fact, and I think as a result of that, it put me at ease, because I overlooked that, because at the end of the day, it was a love story, and I accepted it. It didn't really use those to go, like, it used the dwarf part because that was Shah Rukh's character trait, for lack of a better word. Like, that was a part of his character, so of course that was continuously going to be brought up with him. They were still human at the end of the day, and I think that's what's most important, is they were still human at the end of the day. I'm not to say that there wasn't bad parts in the first part of the film. I mean, the motorcycle chase scene was weird, but I bought it, though. I bought it because Katrina Kaif's character as Babita was also set up a little bit. I mean, she's going through a terrible breakup. It's public. She's betting on whether or not the guy will answer her calls, losing money in the process, drinking all the time, and she goes to a public meetup, flips everybody off, and she's drunk, and everyone's chasing her and stuff, and I bought that part, but like the fact that they were in a sidecar and they're kicking people, like, it was outlandish, but it was entertainment. It was supposed to be. It was lighthearted. It wasn't anything serious. Because the filmmakers took the time to set up those little moments with Katrina in the bathtub and stuff like that, I could buy that she pulled over the side of the road and kissed Shah Rukh's character, because I don't think she ever thought they would see each other again. And because of the plants and payoffs, though, the fact that they do see each other again later didn't seem out of nowhere, didn't seem out of the blue. There's a few big major plant and payoffs in this film. The first one is the Leonardo DiCaprio baby line. After the father arranges the marriage and that switch flips on for Shah Rukh, where he realizes, oh, what did I get myself into? I need to leave. I need to get out of here. There's a scene in which they have a moment together. The husband to be and the wife to be, Shah Rukh and Anushka, have a moment together, and Anushka drops this line by saying, yeah, sure, she kissed you, and Leonardo DiCaprio is the father of the baby or something. Shah Rukh doesn't think anything of it, and at that moment I'm like, oh, she's pregnant. But the fact that they didn't really react on it, it kind of made it seem like maybe she was just making a joke going along with the absurdity of the situation. Maybe she didn't know she was pregnant. I don't know. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, she's pregnant. But when they didn't touch on it, I'm like, oh, okay. But then later on, when you see the kid, that line has a little bit more weight to it now. The second plant and payoff that I enjoyed was the whole idea of the stars. I mean, that was definitely fantastical, and I went with it. But they really don't go too deep into it. They don't really make it seem like it's that big of a deal, and because of that, I buy it. You know, it's not like he was moving the stars and all of a sudden he could fly around and teleport and he was a superhero and beat people up and all this stuff. He just did this one little thing. That's it. That's it. And they don't explain it. They don't go into it. And at first, you know, like I said, it works, so you believe that it works. And then he's at that dinner party with everybody, and you know, he's trying to impress the other celebs, and it doesn't work. And you're like, oh shit. And then when it works at the end, you're like, ooh. And it was that plan at the beginning, didn't work, and then it works at the end, paid off completely because it reinforces the theme of the film, which is it's love. And the stars are only shooting because he was in love. He was in love at the beginning. He wasn't in love in the middle, and then he became in love again at the end, and that's when it started working again. And you know, I appreciated that element. But there was also moments that I didn't enjoy. You know, with Katrina Kaif, there's that moment at the dinner party after the song competition where she's with the ex-lover and she's like, play along with me. And I thought that was a line that was going to end up being a payoff later on. I thought that was a plant, especially since later on, as Shah Rukh and Katrina's relationship gets a little bit tighter, she shares a story about her dwarf parents. And at first when I heard the story, I'm like, oh god, they went there. Like they went too far. Like, I don't believe this. But just, I don't know, the circumstance and the fact that they were able to like spend time with each other and really just settle in, I was like, maybe she's not lying. Maybe she's not bullshitting. Maybe that is why she was giving him all this attention. Because she saw the parents. I don't know. And I bought that. And then you find out that she was just being a bitch and just practicing a monologue or some shit. And then, so it made me feel like, why was that scene in there? That didn't really get paid off. I thought actually when it was revealed that she was being an asshole, that it was because of the line that I mentioned earlier about just go along with me. But I mean, I got it. I understood the whole idea was he had to pursue the girl he really thought he wanted in order to find out that the girl he really needed was the one back home, the one he left. And I get that. But that doesn't mean it worked 100% because why would she really give this guy all this attention? Because he won a dance competition? If the parent thing was a real angle, I could buy it. But without it, I don't really buy it. Plus, I don't know why once Shah Rukh realized that she wasn't the one for him, that he didn't just leave. I don't know why he had to do this whole angle where he had to convince her to like belittle him and berate him. I don't know if it's some weird twisted sexual fantasy of his where he has the only way for a relationship to be over is the other person has to end it. I have no idea. It was really fucking weird. It didn't really seem necessary either because it just didn't. Because once he leaves, she doesn't really factor into the story again ever. I mean, there's a little cutaway where she's in London or something and she's like, I kissed that guy when he goes into space. I personally thought it would have been more effective if he would have just left her. Like, she's preparing for this birthday party, whatever, she's happy, and then he just leaves. And then she's like, what the fuck? Where'd he go? Like, what? Because it would have been a character moment where he made the decision to go back for her instead of being forced to go back to her, which, I don't know. Again, it was a little weird. I didn't really buy it 100%. But because of the chemistry building in the first half of the movie between Anushka and Shah Rukh, when he finally does go back, there's that nice, interesting, lovely moment where he's calling her and she's at NASA and she answers the phone. She says hello, and then it shows she's actually like on the top platform of like some building in NASA, and her eventual fiance is like proposing to her, and you don't know this at first. You're just watching Shah Rukh call on this film set, and you're like, fuck, say something. Fucking say something. Like, you want him to talk to her because you know that she's still in love with him. And if he would just say anything, like, I love you, I'm coming back, whatever, she wouldn't have said yes to the guy. And because he doesn't say anything, she gives him the thumbs up, and then they get engaged. And we, as an audience, know this. Shah Rukh doesn't know this, and that always leads to great tension when the filmmaker is able to let the audience know something that characters don't know, and we're able to watch that with the context of like, uh-oh. And so when they finally meet up, the build up to this meetup, you're like, oh, shit's gonna go down. And they go to America. They go to see her because she's at this conference. She's going to, which the science stuff was the weakest part of the movie in my opinion out of everything. But I understand they wanted to elevate Anushka Sharma. They didn't want to just make her a smart scientist. They wanted to make her like the head of a program, a genius, and I get that. But I'm just saying, like, the monkey in space thing, the fact that they sent someone who doesn't speak English into space, like, it was weak, but I'm not going to harp on that because it's so inconsequential. It's not really important. But they go to this conference, and the monkey starts going all King Kong, and I didn't buy that because I would have liked to see the monkey actually do something crazy, but, whatever. They get frightened, they leave, and then Shah Rukh goes and he tries to sing her and win her over. She pulls out a gun and tries to shoot him. That was too much because there's no consequences to that. The police don't come. It's in New York. If she pulled out a gun at a conference like that, she would have been arrested immediately. So, but like they never addressed that. I get it because because of the circumstance, but it still ended up being an okay moment because that's when you find out the baby comes back and you're like, oh, interesting twist. Because what I thought was just a throwaway line at the beginning actually was true. It was the actual payoff, and that was the payoff. And it kind of turned Shah Rukh's world upside down, and he went and started giving money to hookers. Like, that was a weird moment where he starts giving money to hookers and giving clothes off his back, and then he comes across some kids, and then he starts to take it all back, and then he beats kids up again. I don't know. That was really weird because he ends up going just to NASA, so I don't really know if you needed that. I feel like you could have just... I get why I was there, but it didn't sit well with me. And then he goes to NASA, and another weird moment happens. He's waiting in line, and you know why he's there. He's going to win her back. He's going to do something. He's going to do something extravagant to win her back. Security guard comes up to him, gives him a wedding invitation, and that's when he finds out that she's getting married, and he's like, oh, shit. And then they kick him off the premises, and he's like, no, don't, blah, blah, blah. And then Anushka has this weird moment where she does this like villain in an action film where he's like, let him in, and it's just kind of weird because it just didn't really fit the tone. I know she's in charge of this program, but I don't know. It's just she's just sitting there monitoring all the cameras waiting for him. It just didn't make any sense, but I went with it, whatever. But that's not where it stopped, because it got weird from there too, because then he had to get decontaminated and put in a flight suit, and because of the 0G gravity scene, which didn't need to happen, to be honest with you. I mean, it didn't make sense because Anushka's character didn't have a flight suit on. I didn't see her get decontaminated, so I don't know why Shah Rukh needed that. But regardless, the reason why it didn't work isn't because it was in 0G. The fact that they were talking to one another was enough tension already. Like, you didn't need to add any additional elements to it. They could have talked in a broom closet and it would have been just as suspenseful, and because the tension was there. He wants her back. She doesn't really want him back, but she probably does a little bit. And so it's just, you don't know though, but you don't know. And that's what's interesting about it. They didn't need to float to be on each other's level. I mean, the whole theme of this thing is the fact that they work together is because they were always at the same height, and there was always an even playing field here. And that's what the story presents itself. So, like, when they went 0G, I don't know if it was just the filmmakers flexing, like, oh, we can do this. I don't know. It didn't work for me. After he gets rejected by her, he gets helped out and starts to enroll in this program to become an astronaut. But my biggest problem with that is, it's not that he went and did that. I get it. We know at this point in the movie he's willing to do anything to win her back, even if that means going to Mars. I get it. I have no problem with that. What I have an issue with, though, is there's a line about how Anushka's in charge of all of the enrollment. She's basically the one who approves people. If she had a big problem with Shah Rukh, why did she even bother to let him into the program at all? She could have rejected him immediately. So, like, that was a little weird. I mean, you could make the argument that she was doing that because she still secretly loved him, and she just I don't know. That's not really explained, but, he becomes an astronaut and goes to space, and, there was definitely some moments, though, that worked, that I felt it. I felt it. I won't admit that I wanted to cry, but I will definitely say that there was 2 moments in the film that really fucking hit me. And the moment where the stars started to work again, where they basically confessed their love for one another after Shah Rukh he's doing some underwater shit, and then I guess he gets hit by some pressurized... I don't know. You don't really get an explanation of it. He's not really hurt because he takes his tubes off, and then he goes and talks to Anushka outside, and they just basically... They go at it with one another. They're fighting, but the scene's really about their love for one another, and I felt it because the stars started working and the music started working, and it fucking worked. And then when he finally goes into the spaceship, he gets approved and he's gonna go and launch to Mars. The scene in which they talk to one another, and she asks him, like, would you would you have stayed if I asked you to? And he doesn't say anything, and I don't. It was just a very emotional moment, and then he gets sent off into space, and yeah, she doesn't end up getting married. There was a little weird chase scene where the husband, the fiance, was like, "How fast can you get to 1.2 miles at 12 miles an hour or something?" And she's like, 12 minutes, and there was this weird tension where she's on her little fucking cart, and it was a little, but I got it. Whatever. This film is just a testament to the power of character development. I'm willing to overlook some of these details that I might not have done so in other films, but the fact that I was so involved with the characters, the fact that I was so involved with the narrative, the love story, the performances of these people, of Shah Rukh and Anushka and Katrina Kaif's not bad either. It allowed me to believe their characters. It allowed me to believe that they were real, that they weren't just fake people. And it was a strong love story. And so, despite all of the issues that I did have with the movie, it was just strong. It was a strong narrative for me because of the characters, because it was anchored by them, because of the plans and payoffs, because of that. Because it always made me feel like I was an active participant in the story. I mean, Shah Rukh, what was great about his performance early on is he's just so fast with his dialogue that before you have a chance to really judge him, he's doing something else crazy, and so you're already like going on with it. But it's not doing it in a way that feels too much. Like in KGF, it was that same effect, but it was just doing it through editing and cutting, and as opposed to pure performance. Where reality is, if you did it through performance, you're going to gain more out of your character because now you're spending more time with them. You're seeing how their mind works, and that's the thing. I was able to see how the minds worked of these characters, and that was so important because it allowed me to put myself into the situation. It allowed me to relate to the situation. It allowed me to feel for the characters, and that's important because I'm completely able to overlook a lot of technical problems or story problems or structure problems or inconsistencies if the characters work, because I'm going along with them on this journey. I'm turning that mind off and I'm going along with them. But if you don't set that up, if you don't take the time to set that up properly, I just can't go along with it. I mean, the only Mohanlal film I watched, the original Drishyam film, it's like 45 minutes to an hour of like just character building with family, and they're talking with one another, and they're playing with each other. Even though the meat and potatoes of the movies is about after the murder and the cover up and stuff, but the fact that that film took an hour to set up its characters paid off, because as absurd as that film got, I still kind of stuck with it because I liked the characters, and it's just like in this movie. Characters are so important. They are what drives your story forward. You can have the best plot in the world, but if your characters suck, but they didn't here. So hats off to you, Shah Rukh. I was glad to see you on the theater. And I think, Anushka, you actually stole the show. I really thought your performance was equal to, if not better than, Shah Rukh's. And you guys played great dancing partners. And I don't just mean literal dancing partners. I mean acting together on screen. That chemistry worked. And if that did not work, the film wouldn't have worked. At the end of the day, because that was so strong, the film worked. But let me know in the comments what you guys felt. I mean, do you agree? Did you feel their performances were good? Did you feel they were strong? Were there any other moments that stuck out to you that were bad? And I know I've missed some right now in this review, because to be honest with you, this is actually the second time I recorded this review. The first time I recorded it, the fucking camera footage will not come off my iPhone for whatever reason, so now I had to re-record it. It's not an excuse. I'm just saying that if in the comments you're like, well, what about this scene? I probably talked about it and I just forgot about it to do it the second time. But let me know in the comments what you guys felt about the movie. Did you like it? Did you not? Did you see it in the theater? Are you going to watch it in the theater? Either way, let me know. And thanks for watching this one, guys.